So welcome back to Farmhouse Rehab, episode 12. This episode, we're going to build this wall first, 6 inches higher than our countertop height, and level. And then we're going to install the kitchen cabinets, the lowers, so we can measure for our countertops. And while the countertops are being made, we will be installing the upper cabinet. So this one will be installing the kitchen. I'm working a bunch this week at my other job, so although this episode will seem seamless, I'll be doing little teeny bits at a time. What I've done today is I've finished my floor up to here. We've got a drop down there, and I'll have to put a transition there, so that'll be okay. That's coming out to the edge of the dishwasher. I'm hoping to run because basically we're going to have a 3/4 inch side covering this to run it out to the edge of our wall and cap that off like that on that side. And then I'll attach the 3/4 inch with brackets down to the bottom there to make a strong cabinet, and I'll attach it on the top. Anyway, so the first thing I've done is just bring up in between the two floors with a piece or with a 2x4. And now what I've done is I've ripped a 2x6 to 4 3/4 inches, which gives me a 1/2 inch on either side for my, this side I'm using a sanded plywood. And this side over here, I guess I'm gonna use drywall. I don't know what I'm gonna use. I might use that same sanded plywood actually, since your feet are gonna be kicking under there all the time. So I'm going to run my first piece of ripped 2x6 down here, and I'm going to try and level it out so that this wall will be level. So right down through here, there's a sag in the floor. So our cabinets that's level over there. So there's going to be, if we make this wall level, then our cabinets are going to be all funky. So I'm going to start by making the wall level and then worry about how to level up the cabinets. But I'm going to go with this, there's our high spot. So I'm going to level it at the high spot. There's going to be a lot of space under here. This floor here, this new floor, the new floor is level. What we're on, that 2x4 is on, is the old part of the old house. So that's why that's sitting funny. When I put my wall down here, I'll have a nice level floor to do that. So anyway, I'm going to work on leveling out this board, and then we're going to go with, since this is also a higher spot, we're going to say, okay, this is my 34.5 inches. And then we're going to bring this wall, build this wall to 42.5 across this way. Okay, so that is, I could pick this up a little bit. That's 1.5 inches down there. So I guess if I really want it to be super level, I'll drop that down a little bit. I can actually cut a piece and sort of rip it on both sides. All right, so that's what I'm gonna do. That's a lot from there to there. And again, just for the record, this new floor, perfectly level. This is sitting, and what's odd is the kitchen floor isn't so bad, but for some reason, this is where the wall was that we cut out, and then we built this header. So literally, the outside wall was sagging while the floor joists going across that way were fairly level. So, it's just, again, this is the house we're dealing with. But it's all gonna be nice and level and straight when we're all done, and it's gonna be great. So anyway, we'll continue onward. Okay, that's good enough. And then that's my little 2x4 that I actually took the top off of like that, so cut that down. So I'm gonna screw that in there, and then we're going to just stuff these full of shims as we go down the line and screw. Okay, so there's the framing of that wall. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get some boxes. We're gonna have one over there and one over there, and then a switch over there for the garbage disposal, and then an outlet for the garbage disposal and an outlet for the dishwasher in there. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total. All right, I've got my piece of 1/2 inch premium wood veneer face primed back plywood. That's going on the inside against my cabinets, and no one will ever see it, but I like, because I'm screwing cabinets to it, and the cabinets are gonna obviously hit these studs, that it's just a little sturdier. We don't have drywall back there. We can cut our outlets, holes in it. And anyway, I'm gonna slide it in here and draw it, cut it, trace it out so we can cut it. Okay, so there's all my boxes. We're gonna have outlet, garbage disposal switch, outlet, garbage disposal power, and dishwasher power. Okay, now I'm gonna start cutting all this out. All right, there's my holes. Now let's see if this is going to line up. In there. Let me do some finagling. So it fits perfectly. I have the cord on it. That's nice and straight there. Those go in there, those line up there, and that lines up there. So now I'm gonna start screwing this down. So I'm actually just using the trim gun here. Those screws are gonna hold that on fine. Just don't have to, anyway, getting there. Okay, so that's that. So now, I need to cut out the back of this for those. And this thing, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to, whoops. I have to lift back off all this so I can shoot that on. Or technically I could just screw the cabinet onto the back of that. And I guess it doesn't need to be tight on there, but it would be psychologically nice to do that. So probably have to do that. So I was able to nail the inside of this. You can see where I missed down there. Then I put another one in and ran my wires through. And I just did that by just basically getting that up there in a couple 2x6s off the ground high enough so I can get into there and nail the bottom. And then higher up we'll get some screws directly into those studs, and that'll snug it all up. Okay, so these holes don't work for bringing my wire through. So we're gonna go down through there, and it looks like we can actually go down through. There's another plate that we can go through and bring these wires up properly, and then I'll refire, stop them at the basement, squirt some stuff in there, because this isn't able to sit down flat with those wires through there like that. So, yeah, that's the proper way to do it, up to the walls. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so now it's laser level time. We've got our knee wall made. I have pulled our wires up into the wall from the basement, and I'm gonna have Tim, the electrician, come over here. He's gonna run everything and hook up all the outlets. So, I mean, obviously we could do that, but it'll be much nicer and cleaner with a real electrician. So now what we're doing, so I'm gonna start setting some of these cabinets. Now I know this is my high spot right here. And that's when I run this up into here. I actually need to adjust this here. But I'm just starting to see now we're tighten that corner and then we come down a little bit because we do have this dip here. So what I want to do is I actually want to shim up this corner before I start to screw everything together. And it looks like, let's see where our laser is here. That's got to come up too. But if I shim the back of that up, I'm going to put a piece of 1x underneath there, and that these can sit on, and then we'll try it again. But that's going to be the first thing we're going to do, is put a little piece of 1x under there and try to bring these things up. That back corner looks fine. I'm happy with that back corner. That's right on the line there. And then, well, this is all blocking. I need to get this stuff out of the way here so I can see my line over there. There it is right there. So you can just see that red line's just kissing it all the way down the top into our corner there. And then I've got our first 2 cabinet screws in. So this is a momentous occasion. All right, so we've got our outlets in here now. And that's all the wiring done. I guess we just went over that, but now it's another day, so I'm trying to remember what's what. I have fastened this cabinet to the wall. I have put in our little spacer there, and then we pull this open, we clear. We've got a good 3/8 of an inch there, but we didn't want it to be too tight, but we don't want to be too far away either. So these are, I mean, they're not the most beautiful cabinets, but these are really nice, super sturdy kitchen cabinets. So anyway, that looks good. Now we're cleaning under there. We're going to move this over. I don't know if we have time to do that, but we're going around the corner here, getting all this fastened in and nice and level. You can see, let's see if we can zoom in on that line. You can just see the little red line. Where is it? Right, oh, right there, yep. So it's perfectly level. All right, now what's happening? We've hung our first upper cabinet. In this one, we had to cut out for the outlet. We had to cut out for the vent. I've got a reducer in there that is 6 inches to 4 inches, which then comes around. And he comes out of here and goes right up there. And we're gonna tape that off today. I don't know if I like this like this or having it bow down, but either way, it doesn't matter. So now, what we're gonna do is we are going to, I'm gonna run a cord out of this and also kind of clean it off a little more, try to clean that fan off. I've got some brake cleaner with me today, and I'm gonna take this outside and get that fan a little cleaner before we wire this up and install it. So now I'm working on this cabinet here, and we're still not fastened to the ground there, and we're fastened to the top of the wall, but not to the bottom of the wall. this needs to come out kind of like that. And then we're level back here. Front should be level. I might have to bring that up a hair more. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the power cord. It was hardwired. Nothing can be hardwired anymore, so I'm going to put a power cord on that. And I'm going to drill my holes. I don't think those holes are going to work. We'll try them and see what happens. They were the old holes that were there. I don't know why they wouldn't work, but it seems like there was something in the way. So here's what we got here. That's level there. That's level there. I don't know if you can really see this. That's level there. What I had to do to make this happen was the floor is going up here. So we had to, at the bottom of this, we had to take out our wedge. Now we've got a nice tight fit down there. This line here is even. Our distance, back out here is correct to that. So now we can install our lower block and then start putting our dishwasher in. Okay, everything is level. Back to front, side to side, back to front, from here to there, all level. And I spent a long time tweaking, getting it. Obviously, we're gonna have a little bit of shoe down there. This is gonna look fantastic, you'll see. But right now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to run my cord through there. There was already a hole in this sink that's where the pipe was coming through from the previous installation. So I'm going to put this dishwasher in here. Okay, so I'm starting to put blocks in here so when I have my counter supports, I'll have something to screw into. I've also made a note that this is going through here at between 35 and 37 inches. So if I'm putting any sort of lag bolts into this wood here, I don't want to go into those, obviously. So I will probably restrict them to the 1.5 inches that they'll actually be biting into. Anything more than that is just going through and accomplishing nothing. So, but I'll also make sure not to put them in the 35 to 37 inch range. All right, so that is now done. At least our blocking is done. Next what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pad this side out. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use some more of this and maybe take a piece off of this side so I can push this out into here and bring that up. So anyway, let's see what we got going on here. This, fortunately, appears to be a factory cut, or well, it's a very straight cut, so that's what we need. So I think I can, let's figure this out, see what's going on. Okay, so this is coming up really nice. I had my finished edge here on that, so that looks great. Put my little notch in the bottom, and then this gap is pretty good. A little bit of caulk and paint in there, that'll be fine. This, I just took my belt sander, just made sure it was nice and level. I'm going to take this flush with that now. And then what'll happen is, once I have my counter over here, I'll have a little piece of trim probably going around the top of here to cover that. And anyway, but so now our edge of our counter is all gonna match. And once that's cleaned and painted, I mean, it's gonna look really nice. So there's that. I now wanna switch, because I've got that out there though, to my drywall piece. And actually, now I realize that what I could have done, well, the drywall will go on the back of that. Well, I guess that's what's gonna have to happen. The drywall will be on that, and then I'll have trim, I guess, up around there. But what have we done? We've done something bad, because maybe the drywall should have headed into that with a factory edge and then could have been caulked. Well, at this point, we're gonna put drywall out on this edge, and then we're gonna put, it's just gonna have a corner under it, that's all. So maybe what'll happen is you won't actually see this, but anyway, drywall's going on here now. Or we call Michelle, because what we could do, that would be really nice, since people are gonna be kicking this, is to get some more of this and put that on the back of that. Why not? And then we just have, we're still gonna have to put some kind of corner on here, but that would be better than draw. I mean, it'd certainly be a sturdier surface for people sitting on, little kids swinging their feet. I'm gonna call our design consultant, Michelle. Okay, so I've gone to Lowe's, I've gotten my beadboard, which is 3/8, and then we're gonna add another 1/4 with this MDF just to pad it out. And so it'll also add to the rigidness once everything is all nailed in there together. I'll probably even actually use trim screws, because I'm gonna get it filled and primed and painted and all that kind of good stuff. So I've marked my second piece over here. I'm gonna cut this, set that in there, and then work on my beadboard pieces. All right, so here's our beadboard there. We're coming around there, going over to here. That's all gonna be primed and sanded and primed and painted. And then we've got our corner in here. I'm gonna caulk this. I still need to get this flush with this. I think when our countertop is in here, we'll probably have a little piece of trim going up and around. That'll hide that bare edge. But we'll work on that. And now I'm going to take my belt sander and make sure there's no high spots here, because we want the countertop sitting nice on there. I think there's a couple spots just in the MDF over here that we're gonna take down. And then I'll put a piece of base down here. And then I'll clean this mess up. Okay, so I've been losing a bunch of videos, but anyway, here's this. I've got my MDF behind there. I've got my beadboard on there. We're gonna sand and prime and then paint that beadboard. And we'll do that side as well. So we'll have a nice, it all just looks like one continuous piece of the same cabinetry, which is great. So I'm happy with that. I'm gonna take my belt sander and just, there's a little spot on top I'm gonna take down, clean this up, probably run a piece of base across to here, and then we will work on cleaning this mess. All right, so coming around here, and that's gonna be all painted and matching. There's our trim. So now we need to decide if our countertop goes from here to here or from here to here, which is option number 2. Option number 1 or option number 2. All right, so now we've got our sink installed. That has been lowered and the drywall has been repaired and painted. And this has also been lowered and the drywall repaired and painted. So now we can put our lower cabinets there and our upper cabinets there. This plug here, I guess, will be for the refrigerator, and I'll have a hole going into the cabinet and access through that for that. In hindsight, I probably should have put it over there, but anyway, that's going to stay where it is. So, what else did we do? We added a little bit of base there. We got our base done around here. We've got that section painted. This is cut flush with this. So I'm going to find some kind of laminate to act as a backsplash that's thin that can go on that. So that's done. And then on this side, that's all painted with our beadboard to match our other beadboard. It's not quite exactly the same. It's pretty close though. When you've got a flat piece and two lines, yeah, I mean, it's pretty identical. And then we also did our little bit of trim around there. So yeah, so more progress is being made. So the idea now is to get our other lower cabinets set over here, and then we're going to have to build something in this area, and then I can call for the counters to be measured. Okay, so now I'm sitting in my car. I've decided that I'm going to pour this pad in front of the Quonset hut, and I'll be back on Friday. Today is Wednesday, so Thursday I'm working at the shop all day. I'll stop here quickly in the morning to see what they're doing, and then Friday, I guess had other plans. Well, I don't know what I'm doing Friday. I might go to the boat. Anyway, so this is, they just got the machine here and started digging, but now it's raining, as you can see. So anyway, that's new development. Okay, so here's the driveway all dug out. This gives an idea of how big this slab is going to be. It's going to be amazing. So it looks really good. Okay, so the driveway is waiting for a concrete truck. That's going to be so incredibly awesome. And what are we doing here? So I came to set these cabinets, and of course, there's one more outlet that needs moving, but I can do this without causing a bunch of death and destruction. I've got my old work box there, I've cut out a hole. I can actually reach in here and grab that wire, which there's plenty of. So, and then I've got a blank plate to stick over this, and this will be covered with the counter. This is gonna be our refrigerator outlet. So anyway, so that's what I'm working on now. I'm gonna go turn this off and bring this wire through here and rewire it and put in my old work box. And it's gonna be great. All right, so there's that in there. That outlet works. I just tested it. Put a plate back on here, and we'll cover that, and then we can install our cabinets. And there we have it. I'm gonna vacuum that up, set that cabinet over there, and measure my base. Okay, so those cabinets are now set in there. We've got them shimmed on the bottom and screwed into the top. Now I have to work on what's going to happen in here. And the first thing I'm going to do, I think, is go from the bottom and then over there and build that. Because from that, then I can measure sort of what else is happening. This is going to require thinking on my part. Okay, so what is this thing, this contraption here? Well, I'll show you what it is. Right down in here. That's my corner. We've got all that in there. So now we're just gonna put some screws in it and obviously line it up. And then we'll run basically just some 2x4s around here level to catch this piece of countertop right there. And there's my corner. Height's right on there. And then we'll run the thing around there to catch the countertop. Then when we cut the countertop, we'll just put it in here. And I guess I'm going to run that wainscoting down on the inside here down to there. So that'll, well, we're gonna put a shelf in here. So maybe I'll wait and I'll put that over the counter when the counter's in there, and then I'll caulk it to the counter, and that's what I'll do. So we'll have counter first, then built-in shelf, and then whatever extra trim in that area. All right, added our little corner catcher in there, and we've got our upper cabinet set in there. And now we're going to build our shelving unit in there. And I keep changing my mind because if we made it this height, then you can't really set anything tall sort of right here. So I think we're gonna actually bring it up, and we're gonna make, it's just gonna be taller, and it's gonna go straight across there. And then we'll connect this to it at whatever height it is to sort of create some sort of continuity. And we're gonna go up to the top there, and then I'll have another piece going straight up from there that will catch the crown molding going across. All right, so what this is gonna do is this is gonna close that gap, which I'm gonna caulk before I continue building on here because it'll be easier to get at it now. And then it's also just, it'll push everything out, both sides, to push this out to here. This is the shelf I'm making. There's 1, 2, 3 backing pieces. I'm gonna put my shelves, this is the inside of the shelf, right in line with those, so you have a solid white back. So it's gonna be a pretty straightforward looking white shelf. So I'm gonna put those pieces in. So here's my shelf, but it's not going in there unless I take this cabinet back off again, which should just take a second, but anyway, we'll put it in there and pray that it fits. Okay, so here is cabinet in here that fills that in. So a little bit of caulk up in there, all those holes up here. I think I'm gonna make one more little teeny box and then a piece of wood so I can tie the crown molding in. And that's all tight there. All right, so we're putting our bead board on the outside edge of this. And I'm going to do it on that cabinet there. Then I'm going to work on that top section there and bring this around here and start to do our crown molding. And I've also got, for this side, these are our support brackets that come out and go like this. So we keep going. Put the front doors on that cabinet. So we're getting there. Okay, there's my top and bottom there. Now we're gonna do this section over here. Okay, I got that cabinet hung up there with my top pieces on to catch my 1x. Now I'm gonna get this other one. I get all this stuff off the top, and then, although this is the proper way to install that 1x, but we're not doing that. We're doing it a different way. So anyway, it's gonna look fine. We're gonna take all this off. All right, I got the cabinets hung up above where the stove's gonna go. Now I need to put some 1x around there, and then I can put the crown molding on. So here are the cabinets with their crown molding. A little bit of a gap back there, but put some caulk in there, it'll be fine. And here are my counter supports. So what's happening now in 2 days are the countertops are being measured on Friday. Today's Wednesday. And hopefully sometime next week they'll get put on. So I'm just getting this room. Want to get this all cleaned off. And I'm going to finish that shelf up there so that, and do that. That's probably going to be Friday morning before they get here, so that I'm not doing anything above new countertops other than painting once that is done. So that's good to get those supports on there. I brought this one in a little bit because I'm thinking that maybe we might want to have a slightly larger, softer curb here, just because, you know, we don't want anybody bonking into the corner. It's tight. So, you know, if I had this out here, then it would limit my curve. So I think that that's gonna be okay. All right, so now we're ready for the kitchen to be touched up. We've got caulked in that corner. We've got our little trim piece there. And of course we have all our beadboard, or not beadboard, the crown molding going around there. We've got our base on everything. And I started to work in this hall. I went ahead and finished the shoe molding there and kind of just tied it into that. And then this side, we had some space. So what I did is over here, we've got that. This is what we started with. And we've got a big gap. And over on this side, I took some of the 5/4, just kind of made a little base there. So that looks good. Okay, we're doing some stairs, railing. Cut this railing, screwed it up under there. We'll put some wood fill under there. Did the same thing up there. Now we're putting these in. I'm taking I've got this little piece down there. So I need to drill this to the proper depth, which I will do in a minute. I'm using a hole saw bit to cut out the plastic here, because if we used that kind of spade bit, it would make a giant mess. So let's drill this down now with our spade bit. Okay, so now this little piece is down in there. We're gonna wood glue it in there. We're gonna take our baluster. I'm gonna place it in the hole, and then we're gonna get a level, and we're gonna put it on this here. We're gonna level it, and then I'm gonna mark it right there, and then I'm gonna add a little for the recess. Okay, so we're making further progress up the stairs with our balusters. And again, we're gonna go over this process again. And I'm going to try to do a better job of filming this time. So this is installing balusters using these plastic treads, these laminate treads. Okay, so the way I'm marking my holes is I know that if I I've got this line right here. If I come off of that line, I am about 1 3/8 off of that line to the outside of this. I also know I'm using this line here, which is actually imaginary, but is the same as that line, to mark the front of my tread. So then if the front's here and the back is off, in this case, again, it's really supposed to be 1.5 inches. If it's off 1.5 inches, then I can mark my little circle. At the bottom of these balusters are these little plugs that come out. I'm gonna set this, I'm gonna set this on here, and I'm gonna line this up with the front like that. Then I'm gonna measure off the back 1.5 inches. I have my front, and I have the outside edge 1.5 inches off the back of that. And I'm gonna take this marker and trace around the little plug there. So while I was holding the baluster in place, I hit the sort of outside edge of this, and I take these little plugs out, stick it on there. Now I've got my hole. So now I'm gonna take my hole saw bit, and I'm gonna center that right in that hole. I'm gonna drill this down through here. All right, now that has pulled my little plastic plug out of there and left nice clean edges on this plastic. If you tried to do that with, again, a spade bit, it would make a giant mess. Okay, so when I put this in there, we're still not down flush. So now we're gonna go into the wood with my paddle bit. Super dull. Also doing it with my left hand. Not in there yet. I'm going to switch hands more. Now I'm going to set this in there. Now, here's one pin. So I know that that pin's in the center of my baluster. And if I go center to center, we got 5 inches there. This is over 3.5. This is under 3.5. That's way under 3.5. That's 3.5. Shouldn't say way, but our goal is to really get 3.5 inches in here. So that's almost 3.5. But I want to shrink that down to 3.5 for the next one. You're not going to notice little 1/4 inches here and there, but still, that's kind of messed up. So instead of 5, we need to come down 1/4. We're going to go to 4 3/4 to center, which is going to be about like that. So then I'm going to mark that over there. This measurement is easier not to mess up because we know from the edge there to that there is 2 inches. So we'll slide this over here. There's our 2-inch mark on our forward mark. So that's right there. There's our center in between those two things. So also I'm pulling my plug out of here each time I am dealing with this for the next one. So now, go here. Actually not deep enough. Let's grab our little thingy do. Yep, we're good. So now we're going to take some type on wood glue and glue these two things in here. Squirt. Squirt. Of course, it's always easier to do this without filming because you're not dropping glue and crap. Squash that in there. Squish this one in there. Okay. Now, what do I do next? I'm going to take that hole, Put it in there. Hold it up against my railing. And take my level, get it to where it's level. Then I'm gonna mark up there with a pen that I can't do with my phone. So on this particular railing, there's a little recess in there. So my mark, as you can see on this one, it's right along the outside edge, so that when I cut this mark, I'm gonna add a little bit, use the eyeball method. Mess that up, holding my camera. Okay, then we put that in there, put it back in there, and we're going to check our level, which we're pretty much dead on. So now I can shoot it in there with the nail. After, by the way, I'm going to fill that with glue and put a drop of glue there. All right, and we're gonna nail it. Again, without holding a camera, but that's it. That's not going anywhere. It's very sturdy. So that is the process. Now I'm gonna put this next one on. And there we have it. We have a nice staircase. Go up. Nice railing. No babies' heads can fit through there. That's the important part. So well, that's that. So now Michelle's gonna stain this to match the floor, which I think will look very nice indeed. Be much better than white paint, which will get dirty instantly. And yeah, that's Long National Nightmare is done. In the kitchen here, we are now waiting for our countertops, which are coming tomorrow morning. And we're gonna have one here, and of course this going around here, and our island across that. So once that's done, we'll be able to install our faucet here, hook up our dishwasher. We need to buy a refrigerator, and the kitchen is done. This here tells me what time it is, tells me it's time to go home. I'm going to take this cord here, and tomorrow while they're setting the countertops, I'll be installing this cord on our range in here. It's got the metal cable there, but we're gonna actually plug it in now. So that's what's happening. Big day tomorrow. So I did one last thing before the counter came, or the counter is coming. I just added a piece of 2x4 in here because this is where the seam's gonna be. So, all right, so we are ready for countertop. So now we've got our counters in here. We are getting so close to being done. What we're gonna do, the last thing in this video, is we're gonna install this laundry sink right in there. So that's sort of the plan. I'm also gonna go over quickly what needs to be completed. In addition to that, the base stops there. So we need to finish this little piece of base around here. That's one little thing. Our stairs and railing are all done. Zoom out a little bit. Some sort of caulking around there, maybe some trim. In this room, we've got, I say base, but I mean shoe molding. We got to shoe this closet, put a little piece of base in there, shoe that closet, piece of shoe molding down there. Some little touch-ups around this door. And then we need to put our transition here in our closet. And then I think that's it for the inside of the house to be done. So all this caulking, you know, just a little bit of trim and some caulk and paint, and of course point up. We haven't seen this bathroom in a while. This poor bathroom's been neglected since we've had our downstairs bathrooms. Lens is awfully dirty. So let's get this sink installed in the laundry room. I think this is going to be the last time I have to cut into any plumbing at the house, so that'll be nice. There won't be anything else. This is the last bit of plumbing. The washer and dryer, fortunately, is all done. I still am going to have to cut a hole for this, but I won't have to shut the water off anymore after this, at least for installing any new plumbing. Okay, there's our compression fittings on there, and let's unbox this lovely thing and get this on here. Okay, so there is our sink installed. I really like these types of laundry sinks versus the plastic ones, because you basically have the same type of sink here, similar depth and all that, but you have some storage under here. Now, had we had the laundry sink, you would have had better access to this space back here. And the reason that this is over from here is so we can fully open our door. Well, I see some water in there. I'm gonna have to figure out why that's leaking, but shouldn't be too difficult. So that's what's going on with this. Okay, all fixed. Gotta put more plumber's putty around the top of that drain, but now we got a nice dry drain. Okay. So that is going to do it for this episode. The next episode, I think, will be the final reveal. I've got a couple pieces of, I got a little transition piece here and some other stuff, but it's just getting kind of boring at this point. So I'm going to finish this up, and the next episode will be the final walkthrough of the house. So it's kind of coming to an end. The time now is September 8th or 9th. I think October is going to be 2 years since we purchased the house. So it's been quite a long renovation. It's also been extremely low pressure, which is nice. I've never had any deadlines. There's nobody waiting to come in here. It's been much more relaxing than some past projects. And if you can do a project like this with no time constraints, then I think you're going to be a lot less stressed and ahead of the game. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.